Hey everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to the Surebonder studio. I am super excited for today's craft because, well, I have a problem. I have a lot of glasses and I needed a way to organize them, and plus they're really cute. So in today's craft I'm going to be showing you how I created this really cute and easy holder for your glasses. Now all the products I'm going to be using today are going to be listed in the description below. So let's get creating. This project we get to do a little bargain shopping. I went to a thrift store and I picked up this lovely picture for about $3. It's not, the frame is not the color I like, so we are going to be painting the frame, and I just have some leftover paint that I used in my room, and it is just a satin finish and it's got the paint and primer in it, so it should cover this color absolutely perfectly, which is great. The less painting you have to do and waiting for layers to dry, the better. And then I went to one of my favorite places in the world, a fabric store, and I got this amazing, it's like a poly cotton blend, and it's in this champagne color with gold shiny, just shininess. I mean, if we can make it glitter, why not? And then I found this really cool trim that was, it's just gonna look great and it coordinates really well with our paint. It's like I planned it that way, I know, right? And then we're just gonna need something to slap the paint on our frame. And then because I wasn't kidding when I said I have a lot of glasses, you saw them. When we string these up, I want to make sure that they're going to be able to hold the weight of all the glasses that I ever put on here. So I'm going to actually be using the Surebonder trigger fire gun, and this is a staple gun, and if you guys think you know staple guns, you're in for a treat when I show you how this thing works. And then we're just going to use the number 4 staples that work with this gun, and we're going to do the 3/8 length staple. So basically you just want staples that aren't going to go through all the way through your frame. And then an Exacto knife, and also, just because you never know when dealing with frames, you might or might not need some pliers. And of course, one of my just favorite glue guns. This is the Ultra 60 watt. It takes the full size sticks, and we're using the tough stick, so we get a really good bond on our fabric and everything else, so that it's going to stay, because like I said, a lot. Alright, so before we get painting, the first thing you want to do is put something down to protect your surface. And as my intrepid cameraman said, "Hey Jen, you want some gloves?" And I said, "No, it'll be fine." You might want to put gloves on because, yeah, if you're a painter like me, it's gonna get on you. So I'm just gonna be a smurf for the rest of the day, which that's fine. Now I went ahead and flipped the frame over. The first thing I'm going to do is actually take the paper off the back, like unwrapping the world's most boring present. Oh my god, cardboard! You got me cardboard! This reveals the jankiest little staple of putting this cardboard in, because usually that kind of holds the cardboard into the paper, and normally they're put on the side of the things here, and this just... it's not. It's just willy-nilly. So I'm glad I brought my pliers with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through here, and where it's piercing the cardboard, I'm going to just remove them. Alright, so that took some doing. Now what I ended up doing is I left some of the nails that I could salvage in there, because we're going to need them to hold the back in frame. So now the easiest thing to do is from the bottom, just push up, and hopefully this all works fabulously. We are going to be using the picture portion to put our fabric on, so you're just going to set that aside for now. The glass portion, you'll just go ahead and put in your pile of things that you can possibly scrap with or craft with at a future date. So now all we are left with is the frame. So now we just paint. I don't know why this feels so ominous. And because I have all these nooks and crannies in here, you just want to make sure that you're getting the paint down into your nooks and crannies. And quite honestly, you never want to forget about your nooks and crannies, now do you? yeah, you just keep on painting, keep on painting. And then once everything is painted, we're gonna let it dry. And then we're gonna come back and do the rest of the fun things. So we'll see you in a bit. Our frame is nicely painted and looking good. So we're going to wait for that to warm up as we prep everything else. So I'm going to go ahead and take this away for the moment. And what we want to work with is the picture itself and our beautiful fabric. This picture is actually framed, so if we were to put the fabric right over this, you would actually be able to see the bump on the framing. So we're actually going to make the back side the side that our fabric is going to be on. Now I have about 3/4 of a yard of fabric because quite frankly I didn't know how big my picture was going to be, and we're just going to cut this down to size. So you can probably get away with probably about a 1/2 yard, all depends on how big you make this. So this is a perfect project if you got a lot of scrap fabric laying around. So essentially we want the fabric to just overlap by a little bit on the back there. So we're going to do one of my favorite things ever with fabric, and hopefully this is one of those aha moments for you guys. Now this only works on woven fabric, but essentially what we're going to do is we're going to figure out where the edge of our frame is, which is about right here, and then we're going to figure, I'm going to eyeball it like 1 inch or so, and just snip into the fabric itself. And are you ready for this? This is so satisfying. The strength of 1,000 men. Right? It just tears right down the line. For the most part, you'll get a very straight cut in your fabric. And like I said, so satisfying. And we're going to do that for the other direction as well. So now we are going to adhere the fabric on to the picture frame, and we're always going to want to start with the corners. That will help that you don't get a lot of bulk in the corners, and your corners will be finished nicely. So now that our gun is nice and warmed up, we're going to use our Ultra gun to adhere our fabric. So let's get started. Our glue gun is warmed up, and I am using the Tough Stick in here just because I want to make sure with the weight of everything going on that we are going to get a really good solid bond. I'm just making sure that the fabric's not wrinkled as we're laying it down. So we want to make sure those wrinkles don't transition to the other side. And then we're able to fold this over. So it's kind of like you're wrapping a present. It's the best way to think about how you want to fold in your fabric. And this Ultra 60 watt is really nice for these bigger projects where you're going to need quite a bit of glue. So it's got that larger chamber to really heat up a bunch of glue for you. You want to make sure when you're putting your glue guns down as well that you're always standing them. And then we want to make sure that the fabric is nice and taut. So you can even flip it over to make sure that it looks good on this side as well. Again, starting with the corners. So that's a question. When you glue gun, are you one of those people that do the circles with your glue? Or do you like to do the zigzag? Let me know in the comment section. How do you glue your glue? And since this is the last corner, we want to make sure it's nice and taut, but you don't want to overstretch it, because with fabric, you will see we've got like this nice finished edge over here. It's called the selvage. And when you are stretching from corner to corner away from the selvage, you can actually warp the fabric. So you want to make sure you're not distorting the fabric as you're pulling it. So now before we put it into the frame, we're actually going to be adding our trim in, just because I have a lot of glasses, which means I'm going to be putting a lot of weight on this. So I want to make sure this is as sturdy as possible. So we are actually going to be using our trigger fire to actually put this down. So let's set that to the side. We are going to find our center point. So just using the ruler, It's not quite 16, so I'm just gonna go a little bit shy of 8. That's about the center point. And you just wanna make sure that however you mark it, so I'm doing 7 3/4 on that side, we're gonna do 7 3/4 on this side. So as long as that is even, we will be cooking with gas. I'm just gonna take a set of my glasses and I'm just gonna place them in there just to make sure that I have plenty of room. And I do indeed. So I think we're gonna come down about, what do you think, 1.5 inches? I think that looks good. So we're gonna do that because we don't want the trim right up at the very top. So I'm just gonna mark 1.5 inches on each side. Here's a little tip before you actually go to nail things down, just because I want to make sure nothing's kind of sliding around or anything. Take just a really small dab of glue and we're going to put it on the picture frame. Okay. And then we're going to put our trim right on top of it and let that sit for just a second. That way, when we come over here with our secure stapler gun, we know that the trim isn't going to move on us when we're pushing down trying to get our staples in. So this is how this is where all the cool stuff comes. So I've got my dial turned to trigger. So what that means is I can cock the handle. Now make sure when you're cocking the handle that you don't have your finger on the trigger, and then you're gonna prep it. And then it's good to go. Just make sure you're not touching that trigger until you're ready. The trigger. There we go. So now that trim is going nowhere. Now we are going to work it into the frame itself. So I'm actually, because I've got these little balls on there, I'm going to trim it off because I need to make sure I don't have any bulk sitting inside my frame. So I'm just going to trim that little one right there. And then, again, just to keep everything in place, we'll lose just the smallest amount of our glue. And I'm going to work fast because since we're just using a little bit of glue, it's going to dry quickly. We're going to prep it. And when you're prepping it, always make sure it's like pointed at the ground. Don't be looking dead on at it. Safety first. And then this is why I love it, right? All your weight on it, pushing down, and then just a click of a trigger. We're going to do that one more time. Alright, so we've got our first one on there. We've got a little bit of tension on there so it won't sag completely when we put our glasses on. So now we're just going to do that for the lower section as well. Alright, so putting the glasses on there, I just want to make sure that we've got enough room for our next row where I marked it at halfway, which is going to end up being right about here. So we're going to bring it down just a little bit, and the reason why I'm doing that is because, as you can already see with one set of glasses, it is going to sag a little bit, so it is going to come down just a little bit more, so we don't want them hitting each other in the frame. Okay, so I just moved my marks down about 3/4 of an inch, and that should kind of take care of the weight sag separation. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do exactly what we just did. Now we have that all done. We could just leave it so that we could hang it from the little thing there, but let's go ahead and up the cuteness factor of this, and we're going to use the trim to actually be our hanging hook. So again, we're going to use the combo of the glue and the trigger fire to make it really strong. Alright, so now that that's secured, we now have a much cuter way to hang our frame. Now the last thing we're going to do is we are going to take our fabric board and we are just going to slide that into the frame. And it will take a little bit of muscle, but that's okay because I've just clearly made of muscle. And then those staples that we were able to salvage from the frame, we're just going to push them down to support the back. Voila! How cute does that look, right? Isn't that fabric like the perfect fabric to do this on? And now all we have to do is to hang up all of our glasses. Okay, this is sheer perfection. It's not a problem, right? People have this many glasses. That is our creation for the day. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. And as you can see, it is the perfect summer craft. It is ready and waiting for all your sunglasses so that you can have a ton of fun this summer. Now let us know in the comment section below what you thought of today's craft, and as well, if you make it yourself, well, we sure would love to see it, and you can just tag us as SB Maker Family, and make sure that you're subscribed to this channel because there's going to be some really great projects coming out and you are not going to want to miss them. And we hope we see you on the social media, so make sure you're following us on all our social media channels. I hope you guys have a great day and keep on creating.